The New Orleans Saints have picked their starting quarterback, Jameis Winston. Jeff Duncan covering the team, New Orleans Times-Picayune sports columnist. Let me start with that season opener, given the weather, and we still have some time here. Is there contingency plans if the Saints can't host the Packers that opening weekend, Jeff?
Yeah, Dan, they're working on that right now. I mean, the situation is so fluid, as you can imagine, in New Orleans. The power outage is catastrophic. The entire city is still out of power. And so there's so many other priorities right now in the city beyond a football game. And we just talked to Sean Payton this morning. They look like the Saints are going to set up shop in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for at least the next month or so. And he mentioned that they've even looked into possibly playing their home games over in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. I think that's one of the ideas they're knocking around, but there's just so many moving parts here. They're trying to make roster cuts today and get players out of there, and they've got families, members all in the hotel, and they're going to have to move hotels. So it's a crazy situation, very unprecedented.
Well, as you mentioned, that they're masters at somehow finding a way to figure these things out, and so is this city. How is this city prepared now as opposed to previous hurricanes?
Well, the $16 billion hurricane protection levee system certainly is the biggest difference. I mean, that withstood all the Ida floodwaters. I mean, that was really one of the great success stories of this storm. Unfortunately, the power outages have become a crisis. And I don't know. I was asking some of my colleagues this morning, has a major American city ever been without power for 2 to 3 weeks? I don't know. We're trying to find that out. We certainly have become accustomed to these unprecedented natural disaster situations. And the Saints understand this from what they went through in Katrina. You can come back to play a football game, but what are the living conditions? Yeah. There's not going to be any schools open. There's going to be no health care. Hospitals are already taxed with the COVID situation. There's no running water or power. You don't want to be in those conditions. And so Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, the general manager, they've been through this a bunch of times. And I think they understand the best thing they can do is find a safe harbor somewhere else and operate from there.
But Dallas is going to be the home away from home maybe for a month, and then they may just commit to playing the home games in Dallas?
That's what it sounds like. They looked into Oxnard, California, Sean's experience with the Cowboys. That's where they have their training camp. We've been watching that on Hard Knocks. That's set up perfectly to house a football team. There's a hotel right there. It's just too far logistically for the Saints to travel. Their first 4 games are all on the East Coast of the United States, so it made no sense to fly back and forth to the West Coast. They looked at the Greenbrier, where they had training camp from 2014 to 2016 in West Virginia. There were some logistical issues there, so it just makes sense for them to set up shop. And who knows, this could work out better and they could get back quicker. So for them, being close by in a short plane ride, is certainly makes more sense right now. And I have to say this, I mean, this is a huge – I know none of us are going to feel sorry for NFL owners. They've got deep pockets, but this is an extraordinary expense for the Saints organization, having to put up family members and 200 to 300 people in a hotel for at least a month.
How patient is Sean Payton going to be with Jameis Winston?
That's a great question. I'm eager to see it. He insists, Dan, that his offense is more user-friendly, more quarterback-friendly than the offenses Jameis Winston has played in the past. We're going to find out. We're going to see if Jameis can avoid those bad Jameis mistakes. And it's not just the turnovers. It's sacks. He holds the ball much longer than Drew Brees did. And I think some of those things all of us are going to find out, including Sean Payton in the season once they start operating against real NFL defenses.
Is Taysom Hill the backup quarterback? Like, what is his designation on the roster? Is he back to being just an all-purpose player? Is somebody else the backup quarterback?
I think the way it'll play out is Taysom, if a long-term injury affected Jameis Winston, Taysom would be the starter. But in a game during the week when Taysom has been operating, preparing to be the jack of all trades, gadget guy, he would not come into the game as the backup. It would probably be whoever that is, Ian Book or Trevor Siemian. We don't know yet who's going to be the backup. But then if it were long-term, Taysom would go back to leading the team the way he did last year.
Jeff, thank you. I know you got a lot to write about and certainly a lot to explore here over the next month. And hopefully that city is able to bounce back. It's resilient, but going through it again. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dan. Appreciate it.
That's Jeff Duncan, New Orleans Times Picayune sports columnist.